Welcome to The Longer Game, the only show that's dedicated to the future of retail. We bring on real-life people in the retail industry. We talk about their experiences, we share their stories, we apply it to what's currently going on in the market, and we look towards the future of retail. You could say it's Retail Reimagined. My name is Ainsley Moir. I run a customized, done-for-you service agency called Cartology that helps brands win on Amazon. Now, while my expertise stems in the Amazon field, we bring on a wide array of guests because retail is expansive. You've got e-commerce. Yes, you've got marketplaces like Amazon. You've also got brick and mortar that is evolving. You've got logistics. You've got technology, finance. There are so many aspects to retail, and it's complicated. So we're here to bring you the entire story. Do you think that you have an interesting story and you'd like to tell it on the podcast? Then go to thelongergame.com and fill out a form to be a guest on the show today. You can catch The Longer Game on any social channels: LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, and our website, thelongergame.com. We've got all awesome guests on this show, so that I will promise. Are you ready to hear more about the future of retail? Let's get down to business. All right, everybody, welcome to The Longer Game. This is episode 5. I really should keep better track of this stuff. But welcome to The Longer Game, where we talk about all things retail. And retail is a pretty big subject matter. It's wide, and there are a lot of different aspects of it. E-commerce is super exciting and hot, but it's still really not the predominant way that people buy products. It's actually a mix of in-store and online, if we're going to get real about it. But a lot of trends and things that pop up inside of retail that can be shiny object syndrome sometime. And I'm excited to have someone that is a CPG food expert, because that is a super on the show. I should finish my sentences to talk about some of the trends that are going on and what really is working for brands. And there are a lot of cool, I think, food options now, and we've been able to create new, exciting products. But anyway, who cares about what I have to say? Let's just get into it. So I have Ainsley Moir, who is, I said your name right?
Yeah, Ainsley Moir.
Moir.
It looks French. It looks fancier than it is.
Ainsley Moir, yeah. Founder and CPG expert of Healthy Food and Beverage Group. Welcome to the show. I should have checked your name before we got on. But yeah, tell us a little bit about yourself, Ainsley.
Awesome. Well, great to be here. I love to talk shop with you. So yes, my name is Ainsley. I run the Healthy Food and Beverage Group. We are a training and consultant company that works specifically with CPG brands. So helping people with brand strategy, helping people with how to get on the shelf, how to get off the shelf, and really help people build a profitable food business, build an irresistible food brand. And kind of one of the pieces that I'm most passionate about with it is like helping people build a food brand or a beverage brand that they actually want to build. People forget that you're building your own business. Build it how you want to build it. You get to create some of your own rules for it. Yes, there are certain things that we need to do, but you also get to choose how you want to grow your business. And that's super, super important that I try to work with food founders on.
So you said get your product off the shelf. You don't mean leaving retail. You mean like getting in consumers' hands.
Exactly. Getting in consumers' hands, getting in the basket. You know, so many people like fight to get on the store shelf. But I mean, that's like half the battle, right? So many times we like struggle to get a product on, and it's like, yes, this is awesome. I've got my product on store shelf, and
we're here. It's just going to fly off the shelf now.
Does anyone buy it?
Yep.
Right? Yeah. Oh my gosh. I've been like waiting for this brand I've never heard of. No, we need to get it in front of people. We need to make it appealing for them so that they're like, ooh, what is this? I want to buy this. And if your product delivers, then they're going to come back and buy it over and over again. But at the beginning, our job is to get people to even notice you there because they're on autopilot.
Yeah, people are on autopilot. I think it seems now there's an issue in current culture, I'll just say maybe Western culture, that says that because things are correlated, that is also the cause. There's a correlation causation thing. So if this thing happens, it automatically means that even if there's some crossover, then it means it happened because of this thing. And I won't get too deep into any like specific issues, but just because your product is on the shelf doesn't mean people are going to buy it just because it's there. Just because you build it does not mean that they will come. You do have to first build it, but you also have to get people's attention. And that autopilot point, I think, is super poignant because there is just a litany of information that's at our fingertips. It's so easy to get distracted. I mean, even just scrolling on a social media site, it's easy to just keep going and keep going, consume, consume, consume. So, and even like from in my field of helping brands on Amazon, people are making really quick purchase decisions. Half of people are purchasing in 15 minutes or less from the time they get on Amazon to actually checking out, and 28% are purchasing in 3 minutes or less. So talk about autopilot. You've got a very short window to really garner people's attention. Now, what's interesting is Amazon Prime members convert. So let me take it back. Non-Prime members that are on Amazon convert like 14-15% of the time, which is still a great conversion rate in the e-commerce world. 3% I think is pretty much gold standard. But 14-15, that's incredible. Prime members convert 70% of the time. So what's right. So what's interesting is they know they're going to buy something. They don't know what they're going to buy yet. And that's the power of being on the shelf, digital shelf, or maybe in store, being on the shelf. But you have to get people's attention. So I guess what I would ask you is, brands, once they get on the shelf, like I've had people say, our product's up on Amazon and nobody's bought it. And I'm like, okay, well, have you done any advertising? What does your product detail page look like? I'm not surprised nobody's buying it. Just because you're in the store doesn't mean you're in the front of the store or you're the most visible. What do you think is, I mean, I think a big misconception would be it's just going to sell once it gets on the shelf. Maybe I will say, how can you get, when someone's on autopilot, how can you actually get somebody's attention in a retail store when you're up against recognizable brands? Other than just being the new brand, what are the ways that you actually go about getting people's attention and garnering dollars?
Yeah, it's a great question because it is something that everyone kind of faces, right? And it's the exact same thing with Amazon. Oh my gosh, I'm on Amazon. People are going to find me. And it's like, you and every other product, you're competing with the whole wide internet. Same with if you're selling from just your e-com site. Great, I've got a e-com site, no one's buying. It's like you are literally competing with the entire internet. And when you're in store, like there's 40,000 products in there, right? And it is the same thing in the fact that if I'm going to the sauce aisle, chances are I'm going to buy a sauce, right? So as a new food brand, we basically need to convince them, hey, my sauce is better than what it is that you know, like, and trust, that makes your like baby back ribs like amazing. This barbecue sauce is going to make it even better, right? And so one of the most important things that food founders can do is make sure that your brand really truly does stand out. Your package, your label, your brand, it's spot on. There is no time for what I call just for now branding. Just for now branding being, oh, this is okay, like for now, but as soon as I get some more cash flow, I'm going to update it. And oh, my cousin like Jimmy like designed this, and he doesn't know CPG, but he designs flyers.
Yeah, but to be fair, Jimmy has designed a lot of flyers. Let's be honest, Jimmy's done a ton of flyers. He knows how to do flyers really well.
Jimmy knows flyers, he knows flyers. He doesn't know packaging. It is a totally different beast. And so you need to make sure that your package is really truly representative of your product. You can have the best tasting product in the world. If you're not connecting with the person on the other end, they never actually get to enjoy it. So that's like,
how is that different though now than it was, let's say, 50 years ago? How has that changed? Yeah. Because maybe people are doing things quicker now, or more in a rush, and there's more information. But how people decide or choose something, or how we go about getting their attention, has that really changed that much?
So I don't think it's necessarily changed, but people are now used to, hey, there's little products that meets my tribe, right? Mm-hmm. Like people have before we didn't have as many options. There was like 3 barbecue sauces. So we're all like, oh, I just choose this barbecue sauce, right? People are really used to, and this does come from a lot of e-com and we see it spill into retail. I'm expecting different type of products to meet my specific needs. If I am a, homey mom who is looking for like feel good tea all the time, this is not me. But like I'm expecting a brand that gets me, right? Very different.
And there may not
people.
always be a brand that gets
Totally.
you. So that's where opportunity is, right?
Exactly. And that's how you differentiate. It's like, okay, look, is there a whole bunch of revolutionary food products out there? We're seeing a lot more, absolutely. But another really great way, if you're launching a new food brand or you're looking to pivot or break into a space, what is a category that's doing well? And what is an audience that is not being served within it, right? Like that is a huge, huge opportunity. And that is something really important that is people overlook when they are trying to get in a store. Oh, I've spent so much time and energy on my packaging on my product, and I haven't put the same level of energy into the design and package. And number one, retailers are far less inclined to carry your product if you don't look the part. And consumers are more likely to go right by you because we're not getting their attention. So that's kind of like the easiest thing that we can do.
Is level up the packaging and brand, I would say.
Totally. Level up your packaging, level up your brand. No just for now branding or packaging. Like do it right so you don't need to do it over and over again and miss opportunities to be on shelves and to have people buy them.
So your biggest objection, I'm guessing, when you say no just for now packaging is, but I don't have a lot of money.
Totally.
Okay.
Every time.
Yeah. And so what do you tell them?
I mean, so a couple things. So
I have ideas, but I want to hear from you.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, the one piece that I like to remind people is that it's like an opportunity cost in a way, right? So if you invest in just for now packaging, let's say you spend, $2,000 for Jimmy, who designs great flyers, I'm sure there's an amazing Jimmy who's a package designer. But
Yeah. But this Jimmy just designs I'm imagining like band flyers and I teach guitar lessons out of my home. All music things is where I'm going.
Totally. That's Jimmy.
Yeah.
Jimmy does great flyers for that.
Yeah.
So if Jimmy is doing it, maybe Jimmy's $2,000, right? Okay, great. I mean, oftentimes you can get someone around the same price range, but oftentimes we do need to spend a little bit more. So let's say you spend a little bit more to get someone who knows that industry. Great. You now save yourself money because if this is just for now, this is okay for now until it really flies off the shelf. Well, first of all, is it really going to fly off the shelf if you're not selling it? It kind of becomes this chicken and egg. And then you know that you're going to redo it anyways. You don't love your packaging. You know that it's okay just for now. So you're already saying, I'm going to invest in this later when I get more funds. So like you're actively saying, I'm going to pay for this at least 2 times versus if you just pay for it up front. And
do you tell that to people? And does that actually resonate with them?
Yes, it's so difficult for people to get behind though, because they're like, oh, I know, but like I don't have the cash. And like the food industry is an industry, and I tell this to people at the beginning stages, you have to be okay with like money out now that you're not getting back right away, right? You're buying cold hard inventory. You might not get back that revenue for 6 months. Like you need to be okay with money going out now.
And that's probably
coming back.
That's probably on the high, like the quick end of when you're going to see a return.
Yeah, exactly. Right.
You're not going to say 2 years. It could be 2 years, but it's hard to say up front because you just don't know how well it's going to resonate with people.
Exactly. So it's like it's a big mindset piece for sure. To get comfortable with, I'm going to do it right now, so I don't need to do it twice, and I'm not going to get looked over by retailers and by consumers, because consumer goes, they find another tea, great, they now have a go-to tea, or the retailer puts that other tea on the shelf versus yours because it looks the part more. Now you have another company that you need to fight against, right? You've just lost, let's say, 2 years until you have the package that you're like, this is the package. You just lost 2 years of sales.
I feel like there that opportunity cost is maybe just a lack of understanding of consumer behavior, like how people actually interact with a brand or why they even purchase a brand. And I think what's interesting is people can argue with anything. People can argue with data even. I had a client that I was partnering with another service provider with. We were just trying to take on people together, and the client had upped. They were spending a very small amount on advertising, and we had raised their budget by like 10 times. We're talking about going from like $100 to like maybe 1,000. And so they were saying, we should be getting 10x the return if we up our budget 10x. And one of the things I've had to get better at in both the sales process, but also just in interacting with people and managing people and leading them, is just because somebody says something doesn't mean that that's the reality. So what I mean is, you can do a poll of people said that they value this, but if you actually look at their dollars or the behavior, they maybe value something else. And so people could say, I'm healthier because I'm a carnivore, or I'm healthier because I'm a vegan. But what's the actual data that shows that? And what are we saying is healthy? Is it, lower body fat? Is it lower cholesterol? Like, and so there's a lot of things. I just stacked up a lot of stuff, but you get what I'm saying, that there's, just because somebody says something, it doesn't mean that that's actually what's going to happen. But people can definitely argue even with data. And this gentleman that I was speaking to, I've gotten really good at asking questions, saying, well, why do you think that is that way? Or even if I know someone did something, when I managed people at Starbucks, I had people that would steal time and would log in late, and then they would go back and they would adjust time. And I knew that they edited it, but I didn't have total proof. And so I go into it and say, hey, do you know what happened here? Like, I noticed that there was like an edit on the clock in. Like, do you know who adjusted that? No, I have no idea. And I'm like, okay, cool. I said, because that's really bad. Like, you're basically lying. That means like someone could be lying about time. And but like, I don't know who was the person that did it. Oh yeah, that's not good. And I was like, okay, well, don't worry about it. Like, I'll figure it out. Like, I'm gonna get to the bottom of it. Like, I'll make sure I find out who it is. I'll find out either way. And eventually, like after like 15 minutes of going back and forth, this person basically then said, okay, it was me, like confessed to it. But I didn't go in accusing her. I just asked a bunch of questions and basically got her to the point where she realized, okay, like I'm screwed either way, so I have to do something. Anyway, this gentleman who was a client, I said, well, what are you basing this off of? Like, what previous data do you have to support that if you increase spend by 10 times, that your return should be increased by 10 times? He said, just life. And I was like, oh, that instantly in my mind, I was like, okay, we're probably not going to be working together very shortly here soon. And I was just like, yeah, that's not, you can't just say life, because that means, in my opinion, that, and from my perspective, that means because I want it to. And just because you want it to doesn't mean that's always going to be the case. So people have a hard time understanding maybe how consumers behave, and so they don't know why it's important to do it. And you're telling them it's important. They recognize that, but they're having a really hard time investing in that. Do you think that there is do you think it's really a cost thing, or could it, from a brand's perspective, could it be, I don't know if I really truly believe my brand's going to be successful, so I don't want to invest that much into it if it's not going to be successful? But then you're also kind of, you like, when you lack hope, I think you can create self-fulfilling prophecies. I'm not going to be good at this. Okay, well, maybe you self-sabotage. Maybe you don't invest all your time. Maybe you don't give it all. And of course, we've all heard those like sexy entrepreneur stories of, I mortgaged my home and I spent all this money. Like, that's not always the best way to go either. I'm not saying go all in and like sell your wedding ring and all that stuff. I'm just saying that could there be a lack of faith in what that person's doing, or have you found an effective way to bridge that gap and help people to see? Because sometimes I think their expectations are off, and that may just not be the right person to work with for you or for myself. Because if you expect to go on Amazon and do $2 million in your first year or two, even if you're not in a competitive category and you're going to spend $500 to $1,000 a month on ads, your expectations are off. And so I'm going to cut that off at the pass and say, that's not realistic. Are you willing to adjust expectations? If your answer is no,
Right.
Sorry, we're not going to be a good fit, because I'm not going to lie to you and say, yeah, like pay for our services and let's see what we can do, because I know it's not going to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. And you really nailed it there. It's funny. I was just talking about this with a group the other day.
I bet you were. Because
Like,
it happens all the
about
time.
this all the
Exactly.
time. It happens so much, where it's like that just for now. It's like I see two food founders that I speak with all the time, and I speak with food founders every week. There's the just for now food founder. Oh, this is okay, just for now. And part of that is because they're not fully believing it. Because then I have this other food founder who is the play to win.
Okay.
I am in this and I am going to win this. And they come in, some people have the exact same amount of money. And then there's the play to win food founder who is like, I need to hire this person. I need to figure out this. I need to figure out this. I'm going to do all of the things to make this the biggest success as possible, because I know that it is going to be that. And then the just for now, you're right. It is kind of this mindset. Well, like, let's see how it goes. Like, it's okay just for now. I need to you're kind of like relying on the evidence that it is successful before you do the work. It's like it's like saying that you're going to go to the gym after you lose 10 pounds. No, you go to the gym now to lose the 10 pounds or however much, to get stronger, whatever it may be. And it's the exact same thing with our business. We need to do the things now to get us to where we want to be, versus just like hoping it'll be there when we're like half in and like, oh, I went for I did like a quick walk and hoping to like lose 20 pounds. It's not going to happen, right? It's the same thing with our business.
Yeah.
Jimmy is fantastic at flyers. Jimmy doing your packaging,
is not
and
the
you
best
not
investment.
really, no, kind of doing social and like maybe kind of being half in with like really knowing your numbers. Like, you do have to play to win. You do have to be all in. And it doesn't mean you need to mortgage your house.
Right.
But you do need to be all in, and that does become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I have a lot of great stories that I'm thinking of. I'm like laughing because you're talking about going to the gym and, once I lose 10 pounds, then I'll go. It doesn't happen instantly. And I was working on a vacation recently. I was telling you about how I just come back from traveling with my wife and my daughter, and my daughter wanted to go into the gym, and my wife was like going out and walking outside. She didn't want to go with her. She was actually a little too young to be in there, but I was like supervising her and there's not many people there. And she was like picking weights up and wanted to do some stuff. And I'm like, I can show you some things to do. And she's like, oh, I'll just figure it out. I was like, all right, whatever. I just need to finish working out and get done. And she's like lifting weights a couple times and she's like, look at this. And she's like showing her arm. And I'm like, well, just so you know, it's not going to happen right away. So I think there's even regardless of how quick culture's going, or quickly things are passing us by, I think maybe as humans we just want instant results, and so that's a constant fight that we have.
Yeah.
But also the people that are play to win. I just got back from being at Disney World, and I love Walt Disney's story because he did go pretty hard, and there were many years where he didn't care about him personally making a lot of money because he believed in the dream that he had. Mm-hmm. And it started with like a weird looking rabbit, and that eventually turned into a mouse. And he was really good at saying it all started with a mouse. And I always feel a little bit, especially when I see quotes from him up in the park when they're doing like construction, they'll say like, pardon our dust as we like work to create new magic or something like that. And they'll have like quotes from Walt Disney posted around. But there were my wife or my daughter recently asked, how much money did Walt Disney make? And we're like, well, there are many years he didn't make a lot of money. And eventually when you own a company, I was like, what's the easiest way I can say revenue minus cost is profit. And she said, well, what kind of profit are you talking about? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And she's like, well, there's two kinds. And I said, well, what are the two kinds? She said, well, one is like a prophet who's like saying things that are going to happen. Other one is money. And I was like, oh, interesting. Okay, I'm talking about the money one. Yeah, she got me. But she said, how much does he make? And I'm like, well, or how much did he make? And we're like, okay, well, it took time, and eventually he was able to pull profit. And by the time I like actually started explaining, she was like, great, can we go over here? I want to go do this thing. And sometimes that is kind of how I think brand owners are too. It's shiny object syndrome of, I want to create this great thing, and this next thing is going to be hot, and it could work, but it also could not work. And so you had talked about showing your true brand identity. If being involved in TikTok works for your brand, go for it. If that's not what your brand is about, and you find that in your core, the core story of who your brand is, then don't embrace TikTok. I think it's a farce to say. I've seen people say, just embrace it, it's the new way. And I'm like, oh, it's not really that proven. It's been around for a couple years, and I don't know that they're actually making money. TikTok recently announced that, this is going to come out a couple months after they actually announce this, but that they're creating a fulfillment system. And I'm just like, you guys might be making a really huge mistake. Amazon's kind of got it figured out, and they've got a 25 year head start. So anyway, it's just not like, stuff's not proven, and it's cool and it's sexy and it's shiny. But if you're not staying true to who your brand is, and really, I think, believing in what your brand is about, I think that I don't have hard data to support it, but I think that shows to the end consumer. So in your packaging, if you don't really believe in your product and you're not willing to show that in your product packaging, are people even going to look at your product and be willing to invest their hardworking dollars in that product? I don't think so.
Totally. And it's so true. It's like people pick up on that, right? And like, every food founder thinks that they have the greatest product, and most of them, they have incredible products. So like, why are you doing it an injustice of not putting the bow on it, right? And the piece about like, I always say you don't need to be everywhere. Like, know where makes sense for your brand and own that. Who said that you have to be on all the platforms? Like, that is actually a really dangerous piece that I actually see keep food founders, all businesses, like all small businesses, it keeps people stuck at a level, because all of a sudden you still have 24 hours in a day, but you're like, oh, now I need to be on TikTok, and I need to be on Pinterest, and I need to be on Instagram, and I need to do Reels, and I need to do all these things. And it's like, no, like, no one said that you have to do that. The shiny object syndrome pulls you, and it actually is so distracting. And one of the strongest muscles that a food founder can build is like
biceps.
Knowing.
Oh, sorry.
Biceps. Just do like 2 things and then be like,
wow, look at that. Yeah. So big. Yeah.
You have to like be able to stay the course and be focused.
Endurance. The endurance muscle.
Yeah. It's a long-term game. No, TikTok's blowing up. Cool. My game is long form blogs or whatever it is that makes sense for you and your brand. Again,
do you remember that star that got big on Vine originally?
Oh my gosh, yes. Oh, what was his name? And then he got really big somewhere else too. Yeah. What happened to him?
Right. I don't know. I will say this: Shawn Mendes.
What happened to Vine?
Right. It died because it couldn't make money. I actually had made that comparison recently to Vine and TikTok, because it's already at fever pitch. How much more engaging can it be? That's a question that I have. But Shawn Mendes did get big originally from Vine. So that's one success story out of 7-second videos.
Yeah. But
but that's a small margin of people that probably were actually successful from it.
Totally. You have to be willing to play the long game, right? Like, that's what this is all about. You have to be willing to like do the difficult things, have your brand guardrails. My brand does not do this. My operation guardrails, you have to have those in place.
Ooh, operation guardrails.
So hard.
Okay.
Yeah,
so what your actual path and the work that you're doing has to stay within guardrails, because that is ultimately what's going to do service to your brand. Is that what you're saying? Okay.
Totally. Absolutely. Like, know where where you choose to play based on what makes sense for your brand, and do that with your operations, with your brand, with your selling, with your marketing, all of that. And like, don't veer off just because someone's blowing up on TikTok and you're like, oh,
It's hard
I should blow up on
because
TikTok.
we want to achieve success.
Of
I'm in
course.
the middle of reading Traction because
Oh, good
yeah,
book.
thanks. I'm gonna start implementing EOS in my business, and just want to give people a little bit more responsibility, but also freedom to operate, but also know this is exactly what I'm going to own. But in the book already, it's talked about, and I think this is pretty clear in a lot of ways, but the shiny object syndrome, the struggle for that is real. We think, oh, I'm going to make a great investment in this thing and it's going to come out big. And I have so many examples where that's not the case. The Amazon space has had a ton of big aggregators, or these basically venture capital companies, come in and buy up Amazon specific companies. They thought, okay, we're going to buy up these companies. We're going to grow them. We're just going to find efficiency at scale, and boom, we're going to do it. And the problem was that why it hasn't been super successful. I believe some of these aggregators can be successful. I think some are being successful when they're focusing on the right kind of brands, and they're really investing, finding knowledgeable people, but investing in the systems to grow the brand, and then get them omnichannel and grow them from there, not just keep them on Amazon only, because that's, I mean, like, even though that's all I focus on, that's super volatile. If that's all you're doing, you should have other focuses. So but they thought, it's going to be, we're just going to find scale and it's going to be great. The problem is the basics on Amazon are the same, just like in most businesses. Get good real estate and make it look pretty, send traffic to that, and then optimize. That overall strategy is really simple, but sometimes you do something on Amazon and one support agent says, no, you can't do that, and someone else says, yes, you can. How do you scale that? And that sometimes is just more of a time consuming thing, and that makes it harder to actually get it seems like it's going to be easier than it's going to be, and I think it's always harder than you expect it to be.
Totally. And that is so true. Like, go in with the like, yes, this is going to work, and also know that it is going to be harder than you think,
Yeah.
take more time than you think, take more money than you think, and not to plant that like, oh, it's going to be hard in people's brain. Like, it can be fun,
Sure.
And it can be hard too,
Yeah.
right? Like, but there is hard work within it. It is not overnight. The people that you're like, oh my gosh, overnight success, let's not kid ourselves. Most of those stories are very strategically overnight. They spent a ton on PR or strategic sponsorships or something like this. It's like overnight bootstrap success is very, very rare. And overnight can also be 5 years. 5 years is freaking quick when you think about it. Hey, I've got a multi-million-dollar business in 5 years. Hello, that's amazing. Most people will never have that. As an entrepreneur, you are making that bet.
Yeah.
And just like Walt Disney, you make that bet for right now, I'm going to grind. Right now, I'm not going to be that profitable. Right now, it might be challenging, but I know in the long run, it's all gonna, like, I'm going to have my payday. We're going to have the team that we want. We're going to make the impact that we want when we are doing the right things in our business. But it does take time.
And it starts with a hyper focus, where the advent of having a side hustle, or a concept of even being a serial entrepreneur, I think are misconceptions, because someone's just not an entrepreneur of 5 businesses. It started with one business that they got working really well, that they were able to work themselves out of, and then maybe go and start another business, or maybe sell that and then go and start another business. It's not like you're a multimedia conglomerate business owner that's running multiple things, or like, hey, let's start 5 side hustles and see what works. It's start a thing, get really good at it, and be hyper focused, and get the traction that you need. Plug for the book, I guess. because I sit direction, but I don't get any money from that. That's
The good book.
yeah, but good book so far. It sounds like you've read it, so it's got, and I know plenty of people have implemented it, but you have to get that traction and then build that up over time. And I mean, there are companies that all they do is work to create viral videos.
Totally.
It's
yeah, like you can be really successful with one super specific thing, right? Like there are people with amazing businesses doing like one very specific thing, like very, very, very well.
And I just meant
And
like
that,
they're like, you think about viral success, but like a lot of times there's a lot of money and effort that goes into that viral success, and there's no guarantee that it's going to turn out to be profitable either. There's something that you've touched on, and you talked about the person that's playing the long game, which is really the whole essence behind the show named The Longer Game. Is it's about being omnichannel, and it's about going beyond just the here and now, but like, let's go. I even thought about naming it The Longest Game. I think that was maybe something that was already taken, but like, let's go even further. Let's talk about lasting impact and longevity, and not just, generating sales and profitability. That's important. When people say it's not about the money, I think that's bullshit. Like, it's definitely about the money, but it can't maybe only be about the money. There has to be something else behind it. But you talked about people who believe in what they're doing, and maybe I'm reading too much into it, but I'm pulling a biblical reference here, which is faith is the evidence of things hoped for. Faith is, now I'm messing it up, but it's the evidence of things unseen. So, man, I really should know that, but
it sounds right. Sounds right.
But it's basically saying that I'm believing in something and I'm working towards something that I cannot yet see. And so you're having to, regardless of what your religious beliefs are, you're putting faith in this concept and saying, I can't see that this is working, but I'm going to work and believe that it is going to work.
I mean, what's your other option, right? Like, in my mind, I'm kind of like, we can have faith and we can believe that it's going to be how we want.
The substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen. There you go.
There we go.
But yeah, it may not end up how we think it's going to end up.
Yeah, and sometimes it ends up better, and sometimes it ends up on this weird path. But your alternative is like having like one toe in and like, oh, let's see how it goes. And like, that is not, it becomes self-fulfilling. It really does. And trust that what journey your business goes on, when you have full faith, when you're going all in on it, and whatever that doesn't mean, again, we're not saying like go mortgage your house, to go all in, whatever that looks like for you to go all in. And that is as much of a physical piece as an emotional piece. Going all in, go all in from that perspective. And it is, in my mind, it's inevitable that you won't have something fantastic at the end of the day. Will it be $1 billion business in 2 years? Nope.
It will more than likely not be, and it may not ever be $1 billion business. But also, what is the end goal? What are you okay with? If your company doesn't reach 7 or 8 or 9 or whatever, however many figures you're going for, what ultimately is successful for you? I know some founders who are saying, it's about creating a great product and having a 4-day work week. I want to spend more time with my kids, and that kind of stuff I think is super important. I think that's a great way to leave it. I know, so we're also time constrained, and we talked a good amount beforehand. That was my fault. But Ainsley Moir, French lady, if people want to find you, where would they go? Would they find you as a TikTok celebrity, or is there another place that maybe they could find you?
Yeah, not a TikTok celebrity.
Okay.
I have chosen not to be on TikTok.
Yes.
That is outside of my guardrails of where I show
As a
up.
human, my brand as a human is it's off TikTok.
It won't go there. No. So if you want to connect, you can go really simple. So healthyfoodandbeveragegroup.com will take you to the website. You can find me over on Instagram at Ainsley Moir, super simple. And those are the two places that I hang out. I also have a Facebook group as well, but it's a little hard to like just message me. I'll get you in the Facebook group. We share some good insights in there for packaged food and beverage founders who are looking to grow, who are some food brands just looking to start. But let's make sure that you avoid the just for now and really do look at doing it for the long run, and help avoid those costly and timely mistakes in your business.
Cool. Well, thank you for joining me, and let this be a lesson, or at least something to put a pin in for, I think, all founders and business owners out there. I would also say every single person in life, it is going to be difficult. Whatever it is that you're trying to do, it's going to be difficult. And if you play the long game in life, I think you'll be more satisfied with the end result because you're not expecting something instantaneous. I also think you'll have more longevity because you're invested in the long-term outcome. So it's going to be harder probably than you think. It's going to cost more money. It's going to take more time, but be okay with where you end up, because ultimately, hopefully that's where your purpose is to end up in that place. So we got really deep.
100%.
Yeah, but sometimes life gets deep, and sometimes retail takes you there. I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, exactly. No, absolutely. Thanks for having me on. Really loved this conversation and everything that you're doing.
I'm sure we could talk much more, but thanks everyone for joining us. If you want to find Ainsley, you know where to go. And I wasn't listening to what she said, so I can't repeat it. I'm just kidding. But healthyfoodandbeveragegroup.com, right? Is one place.
Absolutely.
And then at Ainsley Moir, I'm going to go follow you on Instagram right now. I'm sure there'll be a great stuff, but not on TikTok. Thanks, guys, for joining us.
Not on TikTok. All right. See you.
Bye.
Bye.
All right. That was the show. What did you think? That was the longer game. We would love for you to share the show with other people and to leave us a review of the show. So go to iTunes, go to Spotify, you can go to YouTube, comment, leave a review, and share this on any social channels that you are active on and wherever you have influence. We want to share this story and stories like it to as many people as possible. Do you have a compelling story and do you want to come on the podcast and talk about it, and you're in the retail industry? Then go to thelongergame.com, fill out a form, and we will contact you about coming on the show. You can find us on any social channels: Instagram, LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and you can go to our website, thelongergame.com, to actually read all of these episodes in blog form in text, because we know not everyone's going to listen. This podcast is brought to you by my agency, Cartology. We are a customized, done-for-you service agency that helps brands win on Amazon. It is super complex selling on the Amazon Marketplace. We help simplify that for you. This podcast is also brought to you by Podcastify Me. They are a full-service podcast production company that designs podcasts around people who are paid for their advice. That is coaches. If you want someone to help create, strategize, and distribute your podcast to the masses, go to podcastify.me to find out more. I've so enjoyed that you've been a part of the conversation and that you've given of your time to hear these people's stories. We'd love for you to share. If you want to find out more, just go to thelongergame.com. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Stay blessed. And until next time, cheers.